Good day, Exiles. In this video, I'd like to discuss the Monstrous Treasure map crafting option and the proper ways of farming it, but let's start at the beginning first. Let's talk about what the Monstrous Treasure crafting option actually does. It adds anywhere from 24 to 36 additional strong boxes to your map and removes all of the natural inhabitants or monsters from your map and packs them inside those strong boxes. Some of you can probably remember that about a year ago we still had prophecies and Monstrous Treasure was one of them. And back in the days of prophecy farming, Monstrous Treasure was one of the most lucrative methods of acquiring the old big cards such as Doctor, for example, from farming strong boxes. So let's talk about how to add this Monstrous Treasure crafting option to your map device. It comes from the Shaping the Skies passive on your Atlas tree, implying that upon completing your map, meaning you have to kill the boss of the map, you have about 3% chance to get a special map crafting option added to your map device. To my knowledge, there are 4 special map crafting options available. One of them is obviously Monstrous Treasure. There is also the Improved Trial of Ascendancy, Alluring Well Side Area, and the Corrupting Tempest option. Hence, there are 4 options that this passive can grant you upon map completion. Therefore, on average, you will get about 1 Monstrous Treasure per 133 maps completed, meaning it will take a long time to farm any significant number of Monstrous Treasures. Nonetheless, if you spec into it at the beginning of the league and then never remove the passive while you keep playing, eventually you'll have enough Monstrous Treasures generated to last you for one good mapping session, which will have a good chance to drop you an apothecary. Now, since Monstrous Treasure procs so rarely, not going the full way with it is a mistake. So let's talk about the proper way of farming Monstrous Treasure now. You will obviously want to juice your boxes as much as possible and use all of the elevated sextants available, such as 600% increased quantity of items dropped from the monsters lying in ambush, 3 additional strong boxes, increased pack size of your magic monsters, and depending if you have an unidentified map, you will want to use the unidentified sextant or any additional pack size sextant. Alright, with sextants out of the way, let's discuss now the Atlas tree. For this strategy, you will always want to use the Wandering Path notable and combine it with all of the Strongbox small passive nodes available. As for the rest of your passive points, it doesn't really matter a whole bunch what you do with them. You have some freedom of what you can or want to do with those passive points. I personally spec into all of the possible map duplication nodes and removed all of my favorited maps to have more rock currency drops. Feel free to do with them whatever you'd like. Next, let's discuss how you should roll your maps. You should buy your desired map with an implicit that grants 4 additional strong boxes. I've run 10 defiled cathedrals, but you could also run Haunted Mansions, Crimson Temples, and Crimson Townships, since they also have a chance of dropping an apothecary. It is also worth mentioning that acquiring these maps in big bulk can be very challenging. Therefore, what you should do is buy a Fracturing Fossil and split your maps in 2. Doing this will allow you to stockpile your maps a lot faster, rather than buying them individually. After accumulating enough maps, next step would be to roll them to have as much item quantity as possible. While doing so, make sure that all of the map mods that you roll you can actually run. After that, head to the menagerie and double corrupt your map. The best case scenario would be for the map to gain 2 additional mods and become an unidentified map, and the only way it can break is if it becomes a 70 or 80 quant map, which is not advisable for Monstrous Treasure juicing. The fragments that you'll absolutely want to use alongside with your maps are Winged Divination Scarabs and Winged Ambush Scarabs. The other 2 fragments do not really matter too much. Keep in mind that strong boxes will block most of the league spawning mechanics or content and most of the altars, so you won't be getting too much benefit of including other scarabs with your maps. I personally use Mortal Fragments, but again, feel free to use whatever you'd like for the last remaining 2 fragment slots. You can also add delirium layers to your map. Since most of the natural mobs will be removed from your map, you will not have any decent chance of proccing the altars, and by adding the pack size from delirium layers, you can actually proc some of the altars and maybe get some additional quantity on your map. Here you can see the results from my 10 Monstrous Treasure maps. I have also tasked a friend of mine to run their 9 Monstrous Treasure maps following my strategy, and they managed to also drop an apothecary. Therefore, I'm inclined to think that Monstrous Treasure mod has a good chance of generating you an apothecary even without any of the magic find gear. However, more testing is required. So if you have a lot of Monstrous Treasure crafting options saved up on your bench, be sure to use them following my strategy or an iteration of it, and leave your results in the comments. That is all for this pseudo guide on how to choose your Monstrous Treasure mob device option. Thanks for watching.